Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Koibu's Corner. This week we're going to be talking about the responsibilities of the DM and how to deal with them. So the topic is the DM must remain impartial. I have a bunch of things we're going to be talking about. One of them is fudging your roles. Don't fucking do it. The other is going to be dealing with the guilt of killing characters. And the last one is going to be dealing with the frustration of players. Let's first talk about this role fudging shenanigans and why you should not do it. There's a couple of reasons not to fudge your rolls, a couple of really good reasons. The first one is the players will notice. If you're rolling some dice, it's really obvious, oh, that's a 6, it's a miss. Oops. Oh, that's 15, that's a hit. And then that one time when the party's on low life and it's really important near the end of the battle, and you roll and you pause a little bit longer than normal, and then you say it's a miss, they kind of know when you're like, miss. Or like you pretend like it's hard to see the die, or where you pretend like, oh, hold on, what's the math here on this one? When all the other times you just knew right away. The party will notice that you're fudging your rolls. They may not say anything. They'll probably be like, I think he fudged his roll, but I don't want to say anything because if I do, then my character is going to die. And so they'll shut up about it, but they know you fudged your rolls. And once you get a reputation for fudging rolls, you will never get rid of it. And it will come back and haunt you in the worst possible way. You'll be like, oh, that hits. Oh, there's the damage. You die. And the party will be like, that's bullshit. I have 18 AC. There's no way it fucking killed me. That's not fair. You fudged your roll. You made it hit me when it shouldn't just because you're pissed off I solved that puzzle too quickly. Or pissed off that I killed that favorite NPC of yours. And the party's going to get pissed at you because they know you fudge your rolls and they're going to think you fudged it against them, even when you didn't. You cannot get a reputation for fudging rolls. Just don't ever fudge your rolls. It's not just because they'll notice and then you'll get a reputation and it's bad, but it also sets really bad precedents. Let's say you have a party of 4 first-level fighters, or 2 fighters and 2 wizards, or whatever, like a party of 4 first-level characters, and they're going up against an ogre. And maybe it's your fault. Maybe you put them against an ogre. Like maybe they're walking down the road and an ogre comes out and attacks them out of nowhere. Or maybe, they want to go somewhere and you're like, oh, but there's ogres in that pass, watch out. And like, fuck it, we can take the ogre. And then they go and they fight this ogre. Regardless of the situation, now they're fighting an ogre. And 4 first-level characters probably can't take an ogre without getting someone killed or almost killed or something like that. And you're in that situation, you're like, fuck, I don't want the characters to die. We just started the campaign. This is the first session. This is the first combat, and it's a fucking ogre. Whatever. I'm just going to fudge my rolls a little bit so that they survive so the campaign isn't over already. I put so much work into this campaign, or I put so much, effort into this. I don't want it to be over right yet. And you fudge your rolls, and the party survives when they should have died. Now the party has that expectation, oh, we can kill an ogre. Not a problem. And then they go and fight another ogre, and maybe that ogre is going to kill them. But it's still early in the campaign, and you still don't want them to die to the ogre. So now you fudge your rules twice. Now they have the expectation they can kill some ogres. And then they go and fight a bunch of goblins, and the goblins are starting to beat them, and they're complaining like, what the hell? How can these goblins be hitting us? It's so bad. And then you start to feel that guilt. You're like, shit, these goblins maybe not kill them, but maybe a couple of them will be knocked down, and they'll have to go back to town and rest for a week or two, and then they'll have to do this, and then, fuck, all right, well, maybe the goblins won't, maybe I'm not going to just outright fudge it, but instead of doing 5 damage, the goblins will do 2 damage. It's enough to, like, the party was going to win anyway, and this way they'll win, and just all the characters are still standing at the end of it. You're going to fudge your rules for the goblins. And then they're going to run into a pack of orcs. And then the same shit's going to happen. The orcs are too strong for them because they think they can kill these orcs, so they go ahead and challenge a larger group of orcs. And now they're going to complain as things are starting to get bad again. You're going to feel terrible, and you're going to start fudging your rolls. So once you start fudging your rolls, you will just keep fudging your rolls over and over and over again. And the party will have this expectation of being able to fight these things that they can't. And maybe it's your fault. Maybe you did give them that ogre that was too strong for them at level 1, and it's entirely your fault that they're fighting this, and it's entirely your fault that they're going to die. Tough titties, buddy. Deal with it. That's the job of being a DM. Sometimes you make mistakes and the party dies. Sometimes you make mistakes and the party gets way too much loot. You're human. These things happen. Don't fudge your rolls. If you fudge the rolls, it's just going to fuck up the system from here on out. It's going to fuck up the game. It's going to fuck up the expectations of the players. And it sucks, which leads us into our second segment, dealing with the guilt of killing characters. It's your fault they fought that ogre, and it's your fault that that character died, but you know what? That's the game. And you feel bad that that character died because it was the first session, or because it was their favorite character, or because, they were just about to accomplish their life goal, or whatever. and it makes you feel bad, and you want to fudge your rolls, but you don't fudge your rolls, and now the character's dead, and now you feel bad. But you can't let it show, and you got to keep going. If you feel too bad about characters dying, even especially when it's your fault, and you feel like maybe I should give them some sort of compensation, but I can't make it obvious. So maybe this just thing has some extra rewards. Like maybe when they look on the ogre, it has 2 healing potions. Well, that's bullshit. Why didn't the ogre use those healing potions? And a player might call you out on it. They might not. But now you have this weird world where an ogre who's dying doesn't use his healing potions. Or maybe the ogre in his lair has like a magic 2-handed axe. Well, why wasn't he using the 2-handed axe? Ogre was too stupid to use the magic 2-handed axe, so he just used his big club. Really? They're not that stupid. Come on. So don't try and assuage your guilt at having killed characters by giving out extra loot, because I know it feels bad inside. I feel terrible when I kill party members' characters. Especially when the players are upset with like, that was my favorite character. God, I'm so sad. Adia's dead. I loved Adia. She's just no. My head's been chopped off. Fuck it, man. You don't feel guilty about that stuff. I mean, it's okay to feel guilty, but you're the DM. You must remain impartial. If they feel like they can persuade the game system, or that you might change things because you feel bad about how things are working out, it's going to damage the game. So don't. You have to remain impartial. Also, you may feel guilty, and instead of giving them loot, you may let them like mulligan a roll. Maybe they make a character and it's pretty good, but it's not exactly good. Like it's got 1 bad roll, or maybe it's got like 4 average rolls, but like 1 really good one and then 1 kind of good one. And like, oh man, I was really hoping for a blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, it's okay. Just re-roll your character. It's fine. I don't mind. You're still setting that precedent of, well, now the next character dies and they want this. And then they roll kind of a mediocre character. And you're like, whatever, you have to keep it. And like, what? That's not fair. So-and-so got to re-roll their character. And now you kind of set this precedent that you have to follow that, okay, anyone can re-roll their characters. Now everyone's rolling like characters with 18 strength or 18 dex or, 20 wisdom or some bullshit. You can't set those precedents, man. You can't set those precedents. Don't let your guilt influence how you play the game, or don't let it influence the outcome of the game. Don't let it influence what you allow your players to get away with. The players should always feel, they should always have, how should I say, they should have an accurate representation of the world. If you play by the rules and things that they shouldn't be fighting kill them, well, now the party understands maybe we shouldn't go fight ogres at level 1. Or, hey, maybe goblins don't have a lot of money and it was just that one goblin that killed us that had a bunch of money on him. You just play by the rules, play standard, play the same way, and the players will have the proper expectations and the game will run more smoothly. A very good DM has damaged the game or damaged the party or damaged something by fudging rolls and by feeling guilty, and so then they made something a little bit easier than they should have, or gave out a little bit more extra than they should have. You can't. I know it hurts. I know it hurts inside when you kill characters, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels great. Sometimes like, fuck yeah, that character has been ruining my shit left, right, and center. I am so glad they're dead. But most of the time it's not. And it's fun to play up the ha ha ha, I've destroyed your characters, yes. When on the inside you're still like, ow, I'm not happy about it, but I'm trying to pretend to be happy so that the players have something to fight against and create the like DM versus the player thing, which is so much fun to play off sometimes, but you gotta remain impartial. And I break these rules all the time. I am not a perfect DM. I fuck up. I make mistakes. We all do. That's part of the game. That's part of life, making mistakes. Which brings us to number 3, is the frustration of players and dealing with that. And dealing with frustrated players is really hard. It's kind of an art in some ways. Because sometimes the players have legitimate complaints, Sometimes you made a mistake and not fudged a roll, but messed up, and the players are complaining. And you have to like retcon something in the game for it to make sense. Or maybe it's more often, actually, most of the time, to be honest, at least with my games, the player frustration is because the players are just being whiny little bitches. Which I say with love. I love all of my players. Even when my players are being whiny little bitches, I still love them. But sometimes they can complain. You'll be in a situation where maybe, maybe they go down to a goblin tunnel and immediately like a goblin collapses the tunnel on them, and the guy's like, what the fuck, man, that's not fair, the goblin shouldn't have, you mean he was just standing there ready to collapse the tunnel the entire time? And you want to be like, yeah, motherfucker, of course he wants to collapse the tunnel. He's standing there was like a goblin emissary upstairs, and he was like ready to collapse the tunnel in case something got wrong. Of course they're fucking prepared. What do you think, they're stupid? No. No, the goblins are ready to collapse the tunnel, and that's one of their primary defense mechanisms, and you want to, like, rage at the player. And they'll be like, well, that's dumb. How am I supposed to know about that shit? And then you want to say, well, the fucking emissary told you they were going to collapse the tunnel. Get your shit together, bitch. But now the players feel stupid, and they feel like you're berating them, and they feel like the DM is against them, and it's this terrible situation. So instead, when the player's like, what the fuck, why did he collapse that tunnel? It's so unfair. The proper response is, well, that's what happened. Why do you think they might have done that? Under what situation would they have been ready to collapse the tunnel? And then the player will be like, well, I guess they're really smart and they're really defensive and really fucking careful. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, maybe you should try and like plan around that or expect that next time. And the player will be like, all right, fine. And next time they come across the tunnel, they're like, hey, the goblins might try and collapse it. Maybe we should flood the tunnel first, or maybe we should do something else, and they'll be prepared for it. But if you yell at them, and if you explain things to them, or talk down to them, which I have been guilty of, I've fucked this up plenty of times before, it's not going to go so well. And then it's going to destroy the interaction between you and your players. You know, you want your players to learn and understand, but you don't want to bend or break the rules for them. You don't want to explain things to them or talk down to them or sink to their frustration and be frustrated back at them. You need to remain impartial, because as long as you're being impartial and you're being consistent and you're being fair by the dice rolls and by what you think these characters or monsters would actually do, or by using what they actually have at hand, it'll be fine. But it's when you start sinking down to them, when you start defending your actions and be like, no, what I did is fair and right, and you just don't understand because you have imperfect knowledge of the situation, and I'm cranky about it because this is a legitimate thing, you're mad at me and you shouldn't be mad at me, you just don't understand. It gives you a bad feeling, and it gives you a bad reputation, and it ruins the game. What you want to do is you want to give them the tools to figure things out. You want to, kind of gently guide them in the right direction. Things such as, well, why do you think this might have happened? Under what situations might this have occurred? What does that tell you about what these creatures or this party has? They detected you while you were invisible? How could that have been done? What does that tell you about these guys? What does that tell you about the treasury? You're trying to sneak into this treasury while you're invisible and moving silently, and they detected you anyway. What does that tell you? Maybe there was a trap. Don't say it. Don't say maybe there was a trap you missed. Maybe they have a wizard. Maybe they have blah, blah, blah. Don't give them those clues outright, but phrase very broad, general questions that they can then think, oh, maybe there was a floor plate that I didn't detect, or maybe they have a caster on hand who's got detective invisibility, or maybe there's an aura around here that does this, or maybe this other thing does that, and let the players figure this shit out for themselves. You want to give them the tools to figure it out. You want to give them a gentle push in that direction, but you don't want to get overwhelmed and start defending yourself and sink to their level. And if all else fails, my personal favorite thing to do is, well, you have to trust me to be the DM. If you can't trust me, then I shouldn't be the DM. And sometimes the players might be like, yeah, okay, fine, but and be grumpy about it. And you know what's a very acceptable answer? Hey, if this isn't working for us right now, why don't someone else DM? I'll play for a little while, someone else can DM, and we'll just switch it up. And the players are like, oh, okay. No, it's fine. You DM. Don't threaten them. Don't say, fine, I'll just step down then. Screw you guys. I don't want to DM for you. Don't sink to their level. Be calm. Be collected. Be like, okay, well, hey, this is frustrating for all of us. Can I play now? I don't want to DM this next time around. Maybe phrase it like that. It may not be the entire truth, but let someone else be the DM, and then you'll be the player, and you'll be in their shoes, and they'll still see that same frustration. And then when you switch back, that player will be like, okay, I understand as a DM. I get it now. Or the rest of the players will see that the other DM is doing the same shit. And do all DMs do that? Maybe there's a good reason now. And a lot of it's kind of subtle, subconscious stuff. But offering to switch and actually switching out with your players, like changing who DMs, is a great way to like unify the party and to get them to understand that sometimes shit happens that the party isn't ready for or prepared for. I actually think it's a really good experience for everyone to DM at least a little bit from now and then, from time to time, because it helps remind you that you have imperfect knowledge in the world and that there's often shit beyond your understanding happening. And that's it. That is our super long-winded explanation on why the DM must remain impartial. To recap, don't fudge your rolls ever. I know you feel guilty about killing players, but don't let that impact how you're playing. And when players get frustrated with you, gotta sit back, gotta remain calm, and just give them the tools they need to figure out this situation on their own, or give them encouragement and let them figure things out. Don't talk down to them. Don't sink to their level. That's it for this week, guys. Good luck, have fun, and good gaming. Bye-bye.